stage 13 of the Dakar 2010. We have the penultimate, but maybe the deciding stage of the entire rally. Palander's Olivalseta starts dead level, second position, with Francisco Lopez, who will get the runner-up prize. But Sainz and Alatia duke their first Dakar victory out. Another thrilling day beckons. Dawn yesterday over stage 12. Once more spectacular scenery as we have now left the foothills of the Andes Mountains and thrashing into the centre of Argentina. Still, the Patronelli brothers are continuing to lead on the four-wheel quad class. Marcus and Alejandro looking for a brotherly 1 and 2. Tim Coronel ran into problems, but not as big a problems as this Spanish crew. At least they had time for a siesta in the shades. Trouble is, the siesta went on and on. He says 1 and now 2 batteries are dead. We've got no more batteries and it just won't charge, so we don't know if we're going to get out of here, so we're going to have to wait for the truck. And wait and wait and wait they had to do. And finally, through the dust came their mechanics and their buddies. And whilst they were there with an airline, he called himself down. Now this is Stefan Onrads, the Belgian, with his turbo diesel 2-wheel drive buggy. So as we cracked the front hub, and then later on with the vibration it finally broke, so the whole upright's broken. But Stefan, as always, because he makes this car himself, has a novel idea of getting round the broken uprights. You won't guess what it is. And as everybody else thrashed past, Stefan decided to cure the problem by, well, just not attaching the wheel at all. Innovation. Even more innovation here. He says, well, it finally looks like this rally will end for me in the broom wagon. The broom wagon that comes along and collects everybody from the rear of the field. It sweeps them up, which is why it's called the broom wagon. Finally, a local turns up with a horse. So he says, well, I've got less chance of breaking this one, so maybe this is how I'm going to finish the Dakar. It's stage 13 and it's the penultimate stage of this 14 massive stage rally. San Rafael to Santa Rosa de la Pampa. It's still a lot of miles still to go. 368 kilometers today, a total of 725 kilometers to Santa Rosa. The Dakar is now in the legendary Pampas. The Andes are in the background as the terrain is increasingly flattening out. The first half of the stage would be reasonably difficult for these guys, but there wouldn't be very many dunes for people to negotiate. The second half of the stage would be very, very quick, similar to the kind of scenery we saw in the first part of the rally 12 months ago. An eerie scene just after dawn this morning, but soon the guys were into the dunes. The last dunes, and spectacular they were, particularly at such an hour. David Fretinier, now he started the day having clinched 5th position overall 24 hours ago, ahead of Alain Duclos, who lost 16 minutes on the stage yesterday, and so lost that 5th in the overall standings. So with Frétinier starting the day 13 minutes overall ahead of Duclos, he needed to keep up the pace and keep the rhythm and make sure that Duclos didn't cut back past him. No problem though for Frétinier on the stage, or was there? Because actually Frétinier lost exactly the same amount of time today than he was ahead of Alain Duclos, so therefore there is a 5th equal tie at the moment. David Frétinier and Alain Duclos exactly level, with just one more stage remaining in 24 hours time when we return to Buenos Aires. Francisco Lopez still within a chance of that 2nd position overall. He started the day with an advantage over 3rd overall of just 1 minute and 13 seconds, so it was down to the Aprilia V-Twin 450 to try and get some space ahead of Palander's Olival Seta. The roads were big and they were wide open for these guys, but it was great news for Olival Seta, because after only 40 kilometers into the stage, he was first on the stage, and he felt that his even restricted 690 had the top speed advantage. For the last part of the stage, he was flat out at over 160 kilometers an hour. That now means that Olival Seta has won the stage, and he won it 5 minutes ahead of Lopez, so Olival Seta has solidified his 2nd in the overall standings. Dupre, no problem at all. News actually coming in from Dupre late last night that he got stung by a hornet yesterday on his wrist, and that obviously worried him. He also thought there was a problem with the bike. In actual fact, it was just the low-flying helicopter hovering just over his shoulder. What of Dupre's lead? Well, it is now 1 hour and 4 minutes. He is absolutely safe and sound. The man who never really got into the stride of this rally, with bad luck and then a 6-hour penalty, Mark Comer, 3rd on today's stage behind Olival Seta and Dupre. Dupre just missing out on the stage victory by 43 seconds. And here is shots of Alain Duclos, who really did get the advantage over David Frétinier today. Duclos 5th today. Olival Seta, Dupre, Comer, Lopez, Duclos this afternoon. Duclos dead level, 5th overall, equal with David Frétinier this afternoon as we go into the last stage in 24 hours time. The wildlife, of course, in this part of the world, there's a lot of it. The horses, the cows, and even a desert fox that we managed to see out there today. Przygonsky, Jakob Przygonsky, the man who finished 2nd in the World Cup in 2009, enjoying the spectacular scenery out there in the last of the few dunes. He got 7th, just a minute and a half ahead of Jonas Street this afternoon. Street, who's very safe and very comfortable in that 7th position in the overall standings. No problem for Jonah. Olivier Pain, Mr. Bread, as the Englishmen say around this part of the bivouac. Olivier Pain, 9th, but quite a way back from the rest of the runners and riders. Now here is Pedrero Garcia having a bit of an off. He gets a bit of a tank slapper going one way then the other, then it kicks him back and he goes down. But the Spaniard, who is in 10th in the overall standings, was perfectly okay and continued to the line. Now this was an evil end to the stage, with a waypoint positioned at the top of this hill and everybody having trouble to try and get to the top of it. Try as they may, it was just like that Austrian hill climb that you see on the television now and again, and it was a chance for people to try and get so close, but they're not quite able to get there. stage 13 and a victorious one for Palandas Olavalseta for Team Scandinavia. Just 43 seconds ahead of Cyril Dupre. Coma third, Lopez losing out to the rest of them. Overall, Dupre continues to lead from Olavalseta, Lopez, Rodriguez and Fretigny. Today was a great stage for me. I started third on the road, but after 40 kilometers I was leading on the stage. It was a stage for the big bikes as we could push hard. The last hour on the road was 160 clicks for the whole time, flat out. It was just great.
Men I dag har det vært en løype for den store sykkelen. Jeg har ligget siste timen nå, så har jeg ligget over 160. Så flatt og fint å bare holde gass. Det ser bra ut. En fait,
There was only a small section of sandy track with about 20 kilometers of dunes. It's always a pleasure with the colours, the shapes of the dunes. They were so different with a few bushes everywhere. It started quite cool first thing, but then it warmed up relatively quickly. The first dunes were very enjoyable, but after that I had to watch my maximum speed in order to preserve the mousse inside the tyre. It's not our strongest asset, so I have to watch my speed in order to get here to the finish.
Hoy la velocidad punta, encontrar el equilibrio y llegar aquí sin problemas, por lo tanto contento.